Welcome to India Talks. India Talks is brought to you by QTV, the channel for decision makers, and Indoindians.com. I'm your host Poonam Sagar, and I like to bring to you guests and inspiring people, leaders who can be an inspiration to us all here. And today I have with me again Amol Titus. He was here with us earlier and we featured him because of his books and his poetry. But one of his other skills and talents is to educate us, especially school children, on sustainability and environmental issues in Indonesia. Welcome to the show, Amol.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to be back.
The last show was so short that we couldn't even cover the entire gamut of your talents and skills, and I think we might have to do one more when we talk about your environmental or CSR. So, but just when we talk about sustainability, it has become such a buzzword. Anything and everything has to be sustainable. But what really is sustainability?
I think the best definition of sustainability was derived from the United Nations. In 1987, there was a Brundtland Commission which was set up to talk about sustainable ways of looking at resources. And they came up with a very simple definition which people can understand, which is how do we develop ourselves, utilize resources in a manner that doesn't compromise the interests of the forthcoming generations.
Okay.
So there is a very strong message here of responsible behavior. So if you look at Indonesia, currently in Indonesia there are 4 big programs which are going on in terms of development. The country is looking at becoming the largest palm oil producer with huge demand all over the world. Mining is, the country is blessed with all kinds of minerals, so developing mining. Cars, it's a big passion, cars and motorcycles, and every month there are hundreds of thousands of cars and motorcycles on the streets. And in terms of power shortage, the country is looking at using coal, huge coal reserves, to develop power generation. Now if you look at all these 4, they all have a huge potential environmental impact in terms of pollution, in terms of deforestation, in terms of conservation issues with species, in terms of consumer behavior, how we consume for example, cars, and is there a responsible way of doing that. And when you go in for things like coal-fired plants, then the emission aspects.
The carbon.
So that is where sustainability, the issue, comes to the forefront. You have a development challenge, but are you going to develop in a responsible way, or are you going to develop in a way that you utilize the resources and the consequences are faced by the forthcoming generations?
Right. So here sustainability is more about looking after the next generation rather than at short-term goals and profitability.
Absolutely, and not just the next generation, the generations to come.
Yeah.
Because if you look at this definition in 1987, it's already 20 years.
Correct.
But if you look at the track record of the West, emerging countries, even large developing countries like China or India or Brazil, I think it's a mixed record, where we have not paid enough attention to alternative energy, we have not paid enough attention to alternative products, which are made from recycled products, which can be used in a much more environmentally friendly way. Our consumption has increased dramatically.
Tremendously,
right?
Yes.
Probably much more than what we need.
Yeah.
And whilst all this is going on, our attention in finding solutions which an average consumer can find on the shop floor, in shelves, I think those options are still quite limited.
You spoke about alternative fuels, biofuels. This is now the new green gold, as they call it. But is that really the solution?
I don't think it is the green gold because what has happened is that sources of food have started to get diverted into fuel.
Biofuel.
And that's not a sustainable solution, right? Because I think the earth can only support so much. Either you drive or you eat, and if you divert one or the other, and then speculators jump in, and you have all kinds of practices which end up creating much more problems than solutions. So in my view, a sustainable solution would be to look at whether we can use human waste and all the plastics and what all we create through our usage every day, whether that can be used in some way for generating
power.
Either it is biogas or some other recycled product. So we've got to find solutions not in creating a bigger problem by using food sources, but rather by looking at what we are creating as in terms of waste, and can they be a solution there, or lighter materials, or simpler solutions like the light bulb industry has changed. So that's a practical solution. Hybrid cars, that's a practical solution. So there are solutions. Body Shop introduced all these products where at one time it was only considered to be the geeky women who would use cosmetics made from organic products, but today it is mainstream. So if there is consistent effort on finding solutions, they can be found, but I don't think we've done enough in the last 20 years.
Apart from sustainability and organic, the fact was brought home to me when I was flying to Malaysia for the music festival, and I could see the land was totally cleared of rainforest and it had plantations growing on it. So is it a replacement? It's still green.
I don't think you can replace rainforests and biodiversity with any managed crop or plantation. I don't think that's it's possible.
And it was so sad because we were at the rainforest and there was a small pocket of rainforest, but there were activists there. But by just being there and saying this is not really a rainforest, I don't know, is that the real kind of movement that we need to bring this message forth?
I think the first thing is to recognize that some of the the symbols, the icons we take for granted in both Indonesia and India. For example, if you look at elephants or tigers, right, or species of monkeys or apes like orangutans, they are under serious threat in both these countries, right? So we can talk about emerging developing countries or superpowers, both India and Indonesia, but on the other side, our scorecard in coexisting with other species, which we got, in India we use this word virasat or heritage, has been pretty poor. Developing countries, but responsibly developing countries, that for me is a much more important word, because responsibility is ingrained in sustainability.
So we'll come back and learn more about sustainable development in all the countries